Hello everybody, welcome to the frequency upgrade number 3. My name is Rene and today we talk about fasting from the news, or how I didn't read the news, I didn't consume the news for 14 days, 2 weeks. And why did I do that? What does it do to me? And maybe why you should consider to do the same. So here's what I found myself doing a lot when I came back from work or having time off, either on the weekend or after working in the afternoon. I would read the news on my phone, on my laptop, and I would literally lay there for hours and just read the news, flick through stuff I don't really want to read, but I just eventually kept reading it anyway because I didn't have anything else left. I read already everything on the newspapers, so I read also the stuff that I didn't want to read. And not only that, I also started reading the news when I had breaks at work or lunch, 5 minutes break, 5 minute breaks, 10-minute breaks, sitting in the train or in the car next to someone else, of course. I would literally work on stuff, and when I needed a break, I would flip over to read the news. And I have basically 2 or 3 websites, or 4, which I frequently used to visit. And I even did so when I read everything already for that day. I would still come back and see if anything changed. And I realized that I was basically wasting my time. And not only that, I was also feeling not very good about it. Not only not feeling good about wasting my time, but also about the news content, about what's going on in the world, in the country I'm living or staying in the moment, about the politicians, about all the crazy stuff that's going on. And I already, a couple of years ago, I decided to not watch TV anymore. So I already took off something which made me waste a lot of time, in my opinion. And I find myself every time, especially when I'm traveling, I'm in the hotel room, and I can be about 2 weeks, 3 weeks in the same hotel without turning on the TV a single time. But when I actually do it, which I always find to be a mistake, but once in a while I think, okay, let's turn it on, let's relax a bit. I find myself watching TV 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours later, watching stuff I didn't intend to watch, and basically overthrowing all the planning, all the things I wanted to do, and just totally, I don't know, blacked out and just focusing on this news or on the TV. So, but this, most of the time I already take it out of my daily life. But the news reading was still a big issue. So I decided to stop reading the news, and I did so for 14 days now. Now it's actually 14 days and 3 days, or 17 days, 18 days without news. And yeah, what did it to me? I realized when I stopped, I decided one day, okay, I'm gonna stop it. And I realized how much of a habit it actually was to take my phone, turn it on, uh, go on the news site, and then just flick through and then read the news, whatever they were about. And by taking this component off, I actually realized that I didn't know what to do. I had nothing to do in the breaks, in all these little breaks throughout the day that you have. I didn't know what to do when I came back from work. I didn't know what to do on the weekend, when I wake up or woke up. I didn't know what to do, um, in the bathroom when you have some time, or when I was eating. I also kept reading the news, and sometimes I wonder how can there be so many news to read about. But eventually, what you keep doing is, or what I kept doing, to read the same news from different angles, different newspapers. But also, I like to read the reactions of the people. So I flick through the comments and read all these comments. And by not doing that, I suddenly realized how much time I have left. And so what I really realized pretty soon, I have an app. It's called Screen Time. So it measures the time I'm actually spending using my phone in various ways, phone calls, WhatsApp, so messaging, various apps that I use, but also the time on the news sites. So I I think at the beginning it said like 6, 7 hours a week of news reading, and this went down to zero, obviously. But this is just you might think, okay, 6, 7 hours a week is not too bad, but this is just one phone, and I have another phone where I don't have this app, and I also have laptops. So I have a laptop at work, and I have a laptop at home, or a private laptop that I use. And I have basically 4 devices that I can use to consume news one way or another. And if you think about, or if I think about all the time that I spend on the other devices as well, there's a lot of time that that just goes goes away without any benefit for myself other than doing what I'm used to do, following my routine, being in my comfort zone. And you might say, yeah, well, I like to read the news. I like to relax after work, but or in the breaks, like maybe you read newspapers, maybe you um, don't use the phone. But in this session, it's more about the negativity of the news and why we actually letting it into our lives. Why don't we just leave it? And this during these 14 days, after I find myself wanting to read the news, but I told myself, no, I cannot. I actually found a new liberty, a new freedom, a new sense of um, living my own life and independent from what's going on around me. And I feel much calmer. I feel more connected to myself, to my ideas, to my dreams, and also I get more aware of what I did throughout the day, throughout the week. And I realize at this very moment, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I mean, I'm from Germany, so used to watch stuff about Germany, but I also don't know what's going on in the rest of the world. One here and there, I just get a glimpse of radio sometimes, the radio. But honestly, I don't listen. I don't want to know, and it's fine. I don't miss it. Other than my habits are still like, okay, I take my phone, I want to open something, to do something, but this more and more goes away as I'm replacing this habit of reading the news with other habits, which I'm going to talk in a minute about. So if you want to replace a bad habit, or which a habit you think is bad for yourself, or even that you think it even makes you feel bad about it. You don't feel good. I never felt good reading the news. I still did it. So you say, yeah, well, I needed to relax it, but why not relax in a way that makes you feel better? Why in a way that actually makes you angry or worried or fear? You feel fear, or you feel uh, you are worried about the future, about your own financial situation, about what's going on. And if you take all of this out, this negative input, you have so much more space to do what's actually good for you. And I did it myself. I started taking walks. I started writing a journal. I started reading books. I started learning a new language. I installed a new app. I installed an app which helps me to read self-improvement books, like a summary. I will show you in a minute. So you can actually do something similar to what you used to do, like reading something. But why not reading something that actually helps you, that inspires you, that lifts you up? And so this is actually already two things. You can stop doing what is not good for you, or what you think is in many ways not good for you, emotionally, energetically, time-wise, your productivity. If you think about um, how many times you actually check throughout the working day, maybe you're an office job, so you work on something and then you have a quick look on the internet. And you do this throughout the day a couple of times, and you actually have a really low productivity because you get distracted all the time. And so besides of taking this negative stuff out completely, then why would you need it? What does it actually give to you? And now you might argue, okay, but I need to know what's going on in the world. And is my question, do you? Do you really need to know what's going on in the world? Other than what is affecting you right now? I mean, if you think about all the problems that are occurring, what is actually affecting you in this very moment? And it's not about being to shut yourself off of the problems the world has, or about things you might wish would change. It's not about ignoring this, but it's more like finding a way to protect yourself from it until you find a way to deal with it in a way that is not affecting you in a negative way. So if you're not able to to keep your high frequency, to maintain a sense of inner peace and well-being, a state of bliss without any reason, which is actually the default state we all should be in. This is how you're born. This is how we are supposed to live. Life of joy and happiness without any reason. There doesn't need to be a reason to be happy. And if you are in tune with yourself, you feel this bliss. And in order to be, and in order to be in that state, you don't need any negative input. You don't need any input at all. You can just let it flow out. You can just enjoy being. But as you start out, or if you have never done this before, you actually get influenced by the things that's happening around you. And so you lose this joy. You think, oh, this is happening. Oh, there's something bad. There's something I need to worry about. And you already have this in your private life enough. So why add something more, stuff you cannot change right now? All you can change is the way you feel right now, and the way you feel about the stuff that you did. And so the focus should be how to have a good time and how to make a difference for yourself. And ultimately, by helping yourself, you help also the people around you, and you make a difference in the world. So you help the world much more by helping yourself without being egoistic, because it's not about only caring about yourself, but if you tap into your own frequency and raise it, and you upgrade your frequency and your life, you will automatically upgrade the life of the people around you just by inspiring them to, if they see you shining, being a shining light, an example, and a peaceful, joyful, loving, non-judging human being, which is truly connecting to all the people around it, and to really have meaningful conversation and interactions, then they will actually start to think about themselves and see what they can improve. And eventually there you create like a ripple effect that actually has a much more, it has a much higher impact than reading the news and complaining and feeling a victimizing yourself. The world is bad. The politicians are, it's all their fault for the situation I am in. It's not my fault. It's all other people's responsibility for the life I am in. But it's easy to do that. But if you do always what is easy, life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, sometimes life will become easier. And at the beginning, it might be hard to stop doing what you like to do, what you used to do, but eventually it's getting easier. And I find that after now more than 2 weeks, I still crave a bit. I'm like an addict, you know. You're actually addicted to negativity. And I was addicted to this too. Not only to my negative thinking, but also to the input, the negative input. Because when you read the news or whatever you focus on, you basically confirm what you already think. You see what you're looking for. And when I read the news, I already look for ways to complain. I look for seeing myself as a victim on a subconscious level. But it's happening. I look for ways to blame others, to push away responsibility for how I feel. Because who is feeling my feelings? Who is thinking my thoughts? Who is choosing what I'm thinking? And it's me, and it's you. You are choosing what you think, and you are choosing what you feel. But we actually give this power away to the mainstream, to the media, to anyone you allow yourself to get influenced by, you know. So by removing one source of noise in your life, because all of this is just noise, people around you, and their problems, and you get affected by them, you know. People talk about what's going on in their life, and you feel bad, feel sorry about them, you feel drained about all the stuff that's going on in their life. Then you have other sources of negativity, the news being a big part of it. And by removing one source at a time and improving your habits, you will have slight changes 1 degree at a time in your life. And eventually, what starts out small, what starts out of fastening the news, might create something in the long run much more tremendous, more eventful for you. It might be a half an hour, 1 hour a day, but think about what starts at 1 degree. 1 degree is not much, right? But when you go along the way, 1 degree can make quite a big difference at the end. When you have 1 degree, 1 meter, and if you have 1 kilometer or 10 kilometer or 100 kilometers or miles, whatever you prefer, uh, it's actually quite a big difference that 1 degree shift can make. And by adding these small changes in your life, you make space for other things to come in. And this is all it takes to upgrade your frequency, to make you feel better, and to reclaim that inner, always present joy, peace, feeling of abundance, of safety, of being good enough. And so if it is hard for you to, so I'm gonna challenge you, give you an option to do for you. So I ask you to refrain to not read the news or anything which you have that makes you feel not good about yourself. But I make it the news. If you're like me, I spend, let's say, 50 to 80% of what I was reading was actually reading the news. So if you are like me and see this as a big problem, can also be watching the news or TV, stop doing it for at least a week, better two. And if you feel this is too hard, you can do something else instead. So I will show you what I did instead. I basically did two things. I downloaded an app which is called Blinkist, which actually summarizes books for you. And you can basically read on your phone summaries of books that you otherwise would have to read much longer. So this is what I'm basically doing instead of reading the news. And I started to learn the language. So I downloaded a language app. I will show you. This is this one. It's called Moza Lingua, and I'm learning Russian at this very moment. And as you can see, I think I have a streak of 100 days already. And you see the words I am learning in the long-term memory and in the short-term memory. Or yeah, okay, long-term and what I learned already, and what's in my long-term memory. And this might not seem a lot, 400, but what I want to show you actually is this 100 days. And you might wonder, okay, why is already 100 days? I only did this for 2 weeks. But the truth is, I already started to fasten from the news, yeah, a couple of months ago, and I made it only for 2 days. And I already started to download this app to compensate. I knew I need to do something else. And I couldn't make it. After 3-4 days, I started again reading news, and I forgot about this idea of fasting. And but I kept learning. I kept doing the language thing. So I reduced a bit the amount, but I didn't stop completely. And a bit more than 2 weeks ago, I said I'd give it another try. And I want to make a video about it. So that's why you're seeing this right now. And I hope it gives you an inspiration, an idea, a challenge, what to do. And it's actually, there's no reason you couldn't do it. There's nothing you can, I don't have time to do it. There's no reason to say, there's basically no excuse other than you're already not doing it. But if you're not reading the news at all, or not watching TV at all, maybe you're spending too much time on social media or too much time on Facebook or anything. Maybe it's shopping, any habit you think is comparable to this. But I think for most people watching this, reading the news is actually, or news feed if you want, is actually already quite a big energy drainer and a big issue in your life, a big part of your life. And by reducing it, you have space to do other stuff, like reading books. And I'm going to show you books I'm going to read soon, or I have already read, but I have now time to read all these books, and which I didn't have before. And with this, I thank you for watching. Have a nice day, or have a nice week, and let me know what you think about this idea, this video, and if you wish any feedback, and tell me how it went with news fasting. And see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.